Good morning, everybody. Captain Tommy Scoville. You are on the lifeboat, and you do not need to adjust your TV. I am this orange, man. I really am. Tell me I don't look like I might be doing time. You know what I mean? I got this wicked prison look about me. It's not good. No, I really like the orange. I'm not sure if it's the new black or not. Might just be a lie, but I don't mind the orange thing. Ghetto Joe, good to see you, man. Annette, good to see you. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised Lene is up this early. I'm just saying, Lene. I'm impressed that you're here. Well played. Well played. Jumpsuit, Mr. T. I love orange. Nothing wrong with orange, right? Nothing. Hey, there's seventh. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. And you know what? People, I could sit right here. Absolutely insane. This is a good setup. This really is. This is a good setup. All right, I'm gonna before we get rolling, I was gonna tell you, man, I found a guilty pleasure online. For real, I'm gonna tell you about this. I'm gonna tell you about this. Before I do, I want you all to be warned. I'm not kidding. I'm gonna tell you about this. Don't run off and start watching this, because if you do, you're going to get trapped into this, and it's going to be a very long. You're never going to get out of it. That's the bottom line. Wow, Lemmy says his high school colors were orange and white. Yeah, that should make for a bright football jersey, to be sure, right? Masterson was wearing that color. Damn, I wish I had known that before I went live. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm not. Kind of a day glow. Yeah, kind of a day glow. So, I'm going to come clean. I got this thing that I started watching. It was an accident, right? It was an accident. I started watching this because it was in a short. And this happens a lot, But I was watching a short, and there was this guy throwing a woman in the air, right? This cheerleader. And this girl spins and twists and lands on his hand, right? This guy's literally just holding a woman on one hand. And then she goes through a series of gymnastic moves while on one or two hands, and he's spinning and throwing, and absolutely ridiculous. And then he gently, lowers her to the ground with no issue whatsoever. Just sort of, no problem. But I started watching it, and I'm telling you, the amount of time that I have put into this. The last time this happened to me, it was the people that would kick the soccer balls and keep them off the ground. You know what I'm talking about, right? Just ridiculous routines, like for hours. For hours, the ball's in the air and they're doing, their foot's going around it and just the most ridiculous stuff. But the cheerleading stuff with the guys throwing the girls up in the air, it's way worse. It's way worse. It is the crack of YouTube right now. I'm not even joking. This guy takes a girl, and he's, she always sort of squats down so she can use her legs to fire herself into the air while, the guys helps him lift her up. The deep sort of bend. But this girl squats down, and as she's coming up, he throws her in a flip, but the flip is completely sideways. It's like a barrel roll. It's the craziest thing. Honestly, I watched this for a very, very long time. Be warned. Don't just jump out and start on this. All right, people. Today, we are going to be talking about, a subject you would think would come up way more often in the lifeboat, if for no other reason than the fact that we've got Flamin' Jackson on board the boat. You know what I'm saying? If for no other reason than the fact that Flamin' Jackson is a member of the lifeboat, you would think that the topic of love would come up a lot more often on the lifeboat. However, it's sorry. Sorry. Yes, Annette. It's exactly what I'm doing. It's a work release program. Yes, that's funny. That's the best orange joke yet. We'll see. We'll see before the we'll see before the show is up. That's a damn good one. That's a pretty good one right there. I like it. I absolutely like it. Zenwin, good to see you. Hello, Roxana Mathis. Pretty fired up. Hey, Mind Games, good to see you. Cheryl. Lemmy's tonight, people. You know that, right? We're going to be doing an interview with Lemmy Audichip. This ought to be really cool. I'm pretty excited about this one, actually. So that's at the normal squirrel time and then the normal squirrel place. So love comes in about 14 million sizes, right? There are a lot of different kinds of it's a lot of different kinds of love. That's all right, Lene. We're just glad you're here. Honestly, there's a gazillion different types of love, but we say a lot on this channel, and I mean a lot, that the opposite of addiction is connection. And while talking to several lifeboaters in the over the last, say, week to 10 days, I have come to realize that the opposite of everything bad is connection. I'm not woofing you. Whether it's got, whether it's drugs or whether it's something that we've got in our past that's tearing us up, or it's the inability to get off go, the inability to move and take that first step forward so that you actually start changing your life. It's easy as crap to talk about these things, but that first step is very, very difficult for a lot of people and can freeze you to the ground. In all cases, if there is something screwing you up, I promise you that the cure for it is going to be connection. Bank on it. James Novak says, hello, everybody. Great day to be sober. Another beautiful day. And guess what? We have a choice. That's man, that's the truth, right? We have a choice, people. Cheryl Niles says, I'm seeing that too. Connection is so significant. Yeah, it's one of those things that when you first hear that, the opposite of addiction is connection. It either sounds hokey or it sounds it just sounds stupid. It doesn't sound like there could possibly be anything to that. But every time we start to struggle as human beings, we don't do it with others around, right? I mean, you can have 75 people in the room. When things start going bad, you're alone. And I'll tell you something. One of the things that I've learned the most over over a lot of years of doing this one, right? I mean, straight up and straight down. I have had some roller coaster drops in my life off some pretty cool highs. I had some gigs that paid really well. I had some times in my life where I was making a ton of money, and thought I was fairly happy. But what I learned is that there's a bazillion people around you when you're on top. They're everywhere. I'm telling you, they're everywhere. I used to go to walk out the back door and there would be somebody at my house already. It was one of those things where almost every minute of every day there was somebody just coming by to tell you what a great dude you are. And, hey, just thought I'd stop by. You get a bunch of friends when you are flying high. When you go in the other direction, right? When you're breaking furniture and burning it, like, I'm not even kidding. If you're burning your furniture in February to keep warm because they turned off the power, you literally have gone from the penthouse to the outhouse. When the outhouse comes rolling around, there's not 100 people stopping by to say, "How you doing, man? I was in the neighborhood." People fall off really quick, really, really quick. And then if you take it one rung below that, I'll be really honest with you. You find out who cares about you when you get incarcerated. You really find out who cares about you. And incarceration. One of the reasons that incarceration is so tough is because, in spite of the fact that you're surrounded by people, I mean, surrounded by people, they take a lot of men and put them in a very, very small environment, right? So there's people everywhere, and there's almost no connection. I was very fortunate that, with what happened to me, but so often in prison, it's just a bunch of people, either playing tough or trying to avoid people at all cost. Connection is the thing that can cure virtually everybody. And if you start backpedaling up, you take a few steps back and look at the whole connection thing. We're really talking about love. We're talking about love. The bottom rung of it. But nobody knew I got arrested until I got out of jail. It's funny you say that, Lemmy, because I remember that. I remember that really well. And yeah, that was the case. That was, yeah. Captain's conversation about hello and goodbyes is making me feel bad about going to bed. No, you're good. You're good. Let's talk about love, baby. It's says Annette, this lives on a lot of levels. Don't get it messed up. Love lives on a lot of levels. And it is possible to love people that you've never met. Right? The lifeboat kind of proves that on a pretty regular basis. You really can bond with people that you meet in a digital format, right? That's real. And it's probably the part of the lifeboat that I didn't see coming the most. And I don't mean when we were talking about doing the lifeboat. I mean when we're doing the lifeboat. Like when Mark and I first started watching the boat kind of take shape and run away on its own and become what it is now. We were talking about all of the different things, and how people in the live chat are now giving advice, and people in the live chat are now connecting with one another, outside of the boat. The concept of getting the 5 is a reality, and people are doing it, and we were excited to sell about it. We really were. And we talked about the potential of all of the cool things that could happen on this. I don't think we ever said the word love. In fact, I'm sure as hell we never said the word love, which is really kind of crazy. But it's probably the thing that defines us. You're right, Kathy. You're right. At least it was surely like that in my life. And I know for a fact that it was like this with a lot of my friends, especially for those individuals, Kathy, for those individuals who are getting high, for those people that are drugging their emotions away, right? They're going to get these, they're committing crimes to keep themselves from getting very, very sick. And that's usually all they can think about. Certainly in my case, when I was doing crime, I was never thinking about, what it would do to anybody. I wasn't even thinking about what it would do to me. You knew that getting caught was part of a reality, but no, the only thing that you're trying to do is get dope and get it in your arm. It's crazy, but that really is it. Tommy Bird, I'm not sure that he has any. I really am not. I type words and AI makes goofy pictures with Lemmy created for you. Sweet. A lot of talk about AI. it was funny. We were talking, I was talking to a couple of different people the other day about artificial intelligence. And, inevitably they will say to you, it can do anything, right? It can mimic a human being in every way. It basically can think, and it can, it can respond. There's, it can do humor, and it can do all of those things. It can't freaking love. I promise you. It cannot develop feelings for the people it's talking to. Right. It's never going to be anything more than that, because the inability to connect with somebody on a deeper level, right? It's always going to be a computer. No matter how much BS and everything they want to talk about, it's always going to be a computer. Love is confusing sometimes. Deciphering the difference in love from the heart and love out of fear. Annette, it's a great comment. It really is. That's a great comment. And there's even more types than that, but that's a pretty good distinction from Jump Street is from the heart or out of fear, and even from the heart thing. And I'm not trying to bum anybody out with this. I've done this, talked about this before, and I always get a little bit of hate mail, and I get it, but love is a chemical reaction, right? Make no mistake about it. Love is a chemical reaction. It is a cocktail in your brain of a bunch of chemicals that your body decides that it's going to throw together. And it's, one of them is the drug that you get when something is novel and it's happening for the first time. Your brain goes, oh, this is important. And it shoots down a chemical to get you a little bit more fired up and to make sure that you're going to remember it better. It figures whatever's about to happen is going to be a big deal, right? And it starts the whole process of this cocktail that's going to get you prepared for what's about to happen, and then hardwire that memory into your brain, which is why usually we remember that first girlfriend forever, or that first boyfriend forever. You might have been married to your husband now for 25 years, right? But every once in a while, you always think about that first guy or that first gal, and it's etched in your brain. Makes a lot of sense because it was the first time. So the next time you fall in love, still great, still fantastic. Not the first time you've done it though. And we say things like, it feels like the first time, or I feel like I'm in high school, right? I feel like I'm a kid again. Sounds great. And if it's the truth, that's fantastic, right? But when it happens, make no mistake, it's a cocktail of brain chemicals. So if you understand that, and it can be brought on by the divine, I don't care what it's brought on by, if God's doing it personally, and I think he probably has a big hand in the whole love thing. However, the way it is carried out for him is through brain chemicals, right? A series of chemicals, no different than the chemicals that get released when we're getting high, except a beautiful, perfectly balanced, cocktail of these brain chemicals. That's a foreigner song. I didn't know that. However, what happens when you're messing with that cocktail? You follow me? What happens when you start tossing a little chemical in there yourself, right? You start doing a crap load of speed. And there are a lot of people who have been, for whom speed has been the drug of choice. There's a lot of people that find sex is a very big part of that, right? Sex is a big part of that drug and of that addiction. Usually the people that do that, that's a big part of it. And there's a reason for that, right? Because it heightens all of that. What you're doing is you're playing with the cocktail. You're saying, I got an idea. Add a bunch more dopamine, right? To the oxytocin and to everything else, right? That your brain has put together. Let's take the dopamine level and multiply it by 10, all right? Multiply it by 15. Feels like the first time. It is a foreigner song. I didn't even realize that I said that. Thank you. Thank you, Ponzi. Yeah, that is a great song too. I love that too. Feels like the first time. I probably bought that album when it was still on the charts. Look in your heart. Love lies there. Open it up for the gift of all gifts. I love that, Annette. Very, very cool. Oops, wrong one. You got to be really quick, man, because you guys are even in the morning now. And for those of us not normies, why do we get so high off narcs and less than understanding guess? We're magnetized to certain people. We're absolutely magnetized to certain people, Kathy, but not from birth, right? We're magnetized to certain people because of how we grew up. And I'm not getting ready to blame everything in life on my parents or your parents or anybody else, because that's not it. It's Lemmy's fault. You know what, Ponzi? When in doubt, blame Lemmy. No, I think Lemmy's pretty solid on this one. The cocktail in our brain, when we start messing with it. Oh, I'm sorry. Why do you fall for the wrong guy? Because something happened in your youth. I'm going to give an example, right? It's just one example of a gazillion possible examples, right? And none of them are etched in stone or anything else. But if you've ever seen the movie Psycho, right, you could probably figure out that Norman Bates probably doesn't have a very normal sex life or ability to fall in love with a normal girl. Mom really screwed up old Norman Bates, right? To a lesser degree, this kind of crap happens throughout life. If something happens as a kid that really kind of scars you, then it's gonna tint how you look at possible mates for the rest of your time on the planet. And it tends to get us to go back to the same types of people again and again and again and again. And people will say, why do I always go out with the same kind of person? Well, because your brain fires on that. This is why the hatred, right? And the and the lack of any kind of you can't say to somebody, I don't want you to find bad boys 6'2", on the thin side, with ponytails or whatever it is that flips your switch, right? You can't unflip that. It is what it is, right? This is what flips the switch, right? And it's different for everybody, right? Which is what makes the world go round. That's cool. Unless what flips your switch is sick. But realize that when they say, well, they're going to send them away and that person's going to get rehabilitated. No, they're not. No, they're not. No more than we could lock you up and say, you can't dig that dude with the ponytail and the leather jacket, the bad dude. No, in fact, you can't even like guys anymore. We're going to take that off the table, right? Women to be like, go screw yourself, right? There's no way you can make that happen. It's hardwired into the DNA, right? It's just who you are. It's who you are. Well, you can't fix those people. They just need to stay behind bars. No, Kathy says, I don't really get the same, there's none of that limerence. I'm not even sure I know what that word is, but I love it. Limerence? With normies, the chemistry. There's not, no, you know what? Very often we don't find, it's difficult to relate to somebody. And this is a reality. This is hard. If, like, take me, you spend 30 years, right? Wasted, right? 30 years under the influence and doing drugs. And that's my point of reference, right? That's my point of reference for the last 30 years. That's my point of reference going back to my teenage years, right? Going back to the 80s. So when I meet people who were on the outside of that bubble, right, for the same period of time, or they're younger people. I've met a few of those, but whatever, they're not. Their life experience is so different than mine that it becomes an issue. But I'm the same person. If you know, if I tend to fall in love with somebody, even if they're a rocket scientist, right? And I use that because that's actually one of the only really, really smart woman jobs that I didn't have a relationship with at one time or another. Uh, been with a lot of really, really smart girls. I really have. That's one of those things. But I just stay in a weed haze. Well, that's the spirit, John Doe. If it works for you. Limerence is the word of the day. Alice and Stacy, it can't be the word of the day if you don't tell me its definition and then use it in a cool sentence. And the cool sentence can't be something like Alice and Stacy, said limerence is the word of the day. You know what I mean? Got to be a little bit more creative than that. I remember being a kid and doing that crap when they'd say, use that in a sentence. I always had a whole bunch of ways you could use that in a sentence without having any idea what it meant. See, John Doe, he squeezed a little limerence on a taco. I prefer to take my limerence, slice it really, really thin, and then just sort of sprinkle it on the top. But that's kind of how I get down. Tommy Bird says, I tell my wife that the whole reason God made man first, not women, is simply because he didn't want any advice on how to do it. That's pretty funny. That really is. That's pretty funny. Tampa B man. Good morning. Thank you so much. I was having a conversation last night. And your name came up. I was talking with some people. You know what? There's a lot of cool stuff that's going to happen in the next week. In the next 7 days from right now, man, there's going to be a lot of really, really cool stuff going on, right? Allison Stacy says, sorry, obsessive love. You know what? No sorry's necessary here. Absolutely none of that here. It's the state of being infatuated or obsessed with another person. Is that, are we going with the love definition? That's the love definition? Because that's kind of interesting. It's the state of being infatuated. You know what, though? Infatuation, maybe the first time, I always dated guys that were peacocks. I went for personality. Next time, and he was terrible. So much for that theory. You know what? Lene says, I love possums. I mean, you don't hear that in a sentence very often. Adam failed when Eve chatted with the Apple person. That is a fantastic sentence. Oh, you know what? You guys have made this morning fun, which is good. Because let me tell you something. Without the comment section, do you have any idea how tough this gig would be? You know what I mean? If it's when you can take a couple of shows off, then you can sit down, take an hour, research a couple of topics, go back through your notes and think, well, I could probably talk about this one again because I haven't done this in a while. I could probably talk about that because I haven't done that in a while. That works for about four shows. And then you're going, damn, and really going back through stuff. And what it comes back to is you gotta, yeah. Anyway, I'm babbling. Kathy says, I'm driving, but I pulled over to Google for you. Limerence can also be defined as an involuntary state of intense desire for someone marked by intrusive. You know what? Annette says it's Lyme's intolerance. A good answer. Not as good as Kathy's, though. Limerence can also be defined as an involuntary, that's the important word in that one, state of intense desire for someone marked by, I don't care what it's marked by. Honestly, that is just absolutely cool. And now it is the word of the day, right? I won't even make you use it in a sentence. Desire for a relationship and reciprocation. Actually, that's a pretty important that's a pretty important end. Yeah, that's a pretty important end. Desire for a relationship or reciprocation. It's a state of intense desire for someone marked by intrusive desire for a relationship and reciprocation. Ooh, that's a good word. Love hurts. It does. It absolutely does. But make no mistake. Yeah, that's the word of the day, Kath. You hit that out of the park. That's a great word too. But where are you going to get this kind of entertainment? You come together, you get a pretty good dose of love. You get a little bit of philosophy from about 30 or 40 different people all at the same time. Right? And then there's me, and I'm just entertaining as hell. Another way to tell the difference between love and limerence is that the initial overwhelming feelings of love generally subside to something deeper and more fluid. What a beautiful thing to say. It's a great way to tell the difference, right? And that's a great way to tell the difference. But you know what's funny? You know what's funny? That first love, right? You can look back to that 40 years later and it feels, and this is, we talk about the mind and how, memories can flood you. The first girl that I ever loved, right? The first girl I ever loved was just a beautiful, just a beautiful human being. But, this was a million years ago, right? In the last century. But that first one, if every once in a while, my older sister will look up my first love. Does it a lot. Feelings aren't necessarily truth. Good Lord, is that a good comment? No, they're not, right? And the brain chemistry can get off sometimes. Sometimes when that cocktail starts getting made, it just doesn't fire exactly the right way. And that's a reality. But so my sister will send me pictures of where my first love is now and what she's doing for work or whatever. And I don't do it. I really don't. I never go and look up and do things like that. But my sister does, and she throws them over to me. It's limerence generally does not last. Yeah, you're probably right, but I like the word generally, right? I like the word generally. Generally, it doesn't last, right? Did you really go there, Mind Games? He says, I like spiders and snakes, but that's not what it takes. I don't love spiders and snakes. I think he knew that. Painfully True. That would be a great name for an album. It's not the love that hurts. It's the lack of love that hurts. You know what it is? Honestly, we get such a fantastic high off that first cocktail of love, right? That first batch of chemicals that the brain puts together is so fantastic. It's so unbelievable. You look at the person that you're developing feelings for, and it takes your breath away, literally, right? Literally takes your breath away. And you think, if I'm not with this person, I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna be able to make it. If I do not have this person in my life, I'm not gonna live. Right? It's bigger than anything. And then you know what happens? We want that crap to feel like that for 10 years, right? 15 years. I got news for you. It would kill you. It would kill you. If you think you could ride that high for 6 months, a year, that initial unbelievable, when you really know you love someone, that initial really sick dose of brain chemical, you're lucky as hell that doesn't last for a really long time. Sometimes I occasionally wonder how exes that that I was still friendly with are doing. I stayed friends with the ones who didn't screw me over. If I liked you enough to date you, we can be friends. You know something? I hear that a lot. And I think that's so grown up and so fantastic. And you know what? Just doesn't happen to me. I promise you, it doesn't happen to me. If I dated somebody, they probably don't want to talk to me. But my sister sends over these pictures of this girl. And, we're talking about, I mean, when I met her probably 40 years ago, long time ago, right? Long time ago. And every time I get the email, my sister will put the girl that I dated's name in the header, right? Like that's the subject. And I think to myself, I'm not going to click on this, right? I'm not going to click on this. You can't turn a hooker into a housewife. Of course you can. Haven't you ever seen Pretty Woman? Right? What they want, everybody wants that feeling to last for years. And it's not going to last for years, right? It's not going to last for years. That's never going to happen. But what should happen is that as that chemical begins to wear off and reality sets in, and you no longer only see the perfect things about the person, right? Now, all of a sudden, you notice that her jaw does this funny thing when she chews, and it's kind of like this popping sound that drives you insane, right? Drives you nuts. And the other thing is she's one of those people that needs the end of the bed tucked in, like toughly, which means I can't like throw my feet out and get a little cooling from the bottom half of my body as well as the top half. You see, this is well engineered for me, and in the first, in the first month, that doesn't bother you. Nothing bothers you. You know what I mean? Your friend says, "Did you hear a weird noise when she was eating?" Oh, don't you love that? That sounds so fantastic. Seriously, it sounds like music. It gives you that to eat to. Isn't she perfect? Yeah. A month later, you're going, I swear to God, if I got to hear that noise one more time, I'm going to jump in front of the bus. We want it to last forever. And the really funny thing is people say stuff like, well, the wife just isn't the way she used to be. You know what I mean? She's not the way she used to be. And you say, you mean looking? Because, I don't look like I used to either. None of us look the way we used to. No. But, the way I feel about her. Oh, when you met her, what were the first 2 weeks like? Right? Tell me about the first 2 weeks when you met her. I bet you bought some flowers, right? Or you wrote some poetry. And, you came by the house. And when you left, you texted her from the parking lot. They miss you already, right? All of that stuff. All of those things that you did. And then you stopped, right? And you never did another one ever again. And you tell your friends, she doesn't act the same way. Well, neither do you. Right? You're not doing what you did. And you're thinking that she should still act the same way without you doing any of that, right? Isn't that really what it comes down to? Tampa B, man, 30 years married, September 4th. Good Lord in heaven. Good Lord in heaven. Good for you. Good for you, Tampa B. Are you kidding me? You know what? Happily married 10. Please tell me it's the last 10, Tampa B. Tell me it's the last 10, Tampa B. Please tell me it's the last 10. Give that man a star, right? Give that man the participation trophy from the lifeboat, but not quite yet. Oh, that sucks. And you know what? I can tell you why. I'm sorry, but I really can. What happens is when we first meet somebody, we're willing to do anything for them, right? We'll do anything for them. Open doors for them, pull out chairs for them. And if it's a guy, if it's a woman doing for a guy, it's it's the small things that just say, I love you. And very often, different people, show love and receive love, in different ways. I know people who they show love with gifts. That's how they do it. Right. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but there's nothing wrong with it. Right. That's how the person shows love. Some people, show love through physical touch. The trouble is, a lot of times in the beginning, it doesn't matter how you show love because the both of you are attacking each other. Right. And you're both talking nonstop. So it really doesn't matter whether you're more of a talker or you're more of a, do, right? Jump into the sack kind of person. Either way, right? You got it covered because all you guys do is sleep together and talk all the time. And everything is perfect. Then you stop talking to her. Right? And then you tell your friends, she doesn't treat me the same way. She's not the same in the bedroom. Right? Well, you quit being the same as soon as she said, yeah. Right? Yeah, I'll marry you. Or, maybe it lasted a year or two, or maybe it lasted 10. But the really crazy thing is, if you go back, right? If you go back and you start doing exactly what you did in the first 2 weeks, watch what happens. I promise you, you really got to have a jacked up relationship for it not to have the exact effect that you think it's going to have. You know what I'm saying? That's not probably not the kind of love you're looking for, but I'm sure he loves you. Life has changed. Why wouldn't a relationship grow and change? But you know something? Here's the deal, right? I love saying that. I really do. I'm never going to get off that. Here's the deal. Gamer, my hubby said Aaron pronounced it right. Yes, there you go. See, and that was the cougar. That's what it is. Cougar. I love it, Annette. Good for you. Good for you. I have to not comment. I could say so much. Full of hope, you be good. You be good. I bet you could say a bunch of, I bet you could. Might as well face it. I'm addicted to love, says Lene. The lights are on, but you're not home. Yep. I love that Full of Hope is now abbreviated to FOH. I love that. I love watching all of those things happen. Aaron got quite a few super chats trying to get him to pronounce the last name right. You know what? I remember that. I have found boredom destroys so many relationships. Diane, there's truth to that, right? There's absolute truth to that. Full of hope. That is one of those, definitely one of the things that destroys love. However, I've watched people that could sit in a room and do absolutely nothing, and it would look like the most boring, but they just loved each other. They loved being next to each other. They loved the company of one another. You know what I mean? When I swear to you, I'm not joking. This is the gospel truth. I think the coolest thing in the world, you're walking through a park, or you're downtown or whatever, but you're out strolling about and you pass a couple and you look at them and you think, the guy's got to be 80, right? Woman's got to be in her late 70s, and they're holding hands, right? And they're walking down a sidewalk or they're walking through a park, and you just think to yourself, how freaking cool is that? Right? That love lasts that long. I'll tell you something. There are times you're going to want to hold the person's head underwater, right? But you get through it. I say people don't plan for their sobriety. They would plan more for a vacation than they would for their sobriety. Nobody plans for their relationships any more than they prepare for their sobriety either. Honestly, I got an idea. You start feeling like you really have feelings for the person, right? Like that sweet cocktail that your brain throws together is starting to throw it together, right? And you really start thinking to yourself, I think I'm in love. Like this person might be the one. And then that person tells you back, you know what? I feel like uh, I feel the same way. I feel like I'm in love. Great. Sit down at a table and start talking about what that love's going to look like in 2 years. Have that conversation. Have that conversation. Have conversations like all of the stuff that could screw up a relationship really big. Knock that out, right? Talk about it. Get it figured out because, many of us just go flying wild in it. Like I'll hear people say, my husband is this, or this, or my wife is this, and this. And you go, and you figured that out after how long were you married? Like you didn't see that going in, or did you change, on a dime? And a lot of times they didn't. It's just that their mind was clouded by a lot of chemicals in the very beginning, and they run off to the altar before they, you should sit down and you should plan things, right? What's our marriage going to look like in 15 years when we're not wanting to tear each other's clothes off, right? Or what's it going to look like in 30 years when the kids walk out, go to school, and we've got an empty nest, right? It's so funny. What is the opposite of everything bad? Huh? What is the opposite of everything bad? You know what it is? It's connection. Bach Buddy says, married 31 years, still in love. Having troubles in the last 10 years, this house emptied of kids. I'm glass half full, and she is growing glass half empty. Sometimes it's hard to get her to look forward and not back. I tell you what, man, it's all about communication, man. It's all about sitting down and communicating, right? Having conversations. And if you guys feel uncomfortable as hell sitting down across from each other, because there are people that are. There are people that when they do that, and I hate this, counselors say, okay, sit down across from one another and I want you to stare at each other, and you're looking at your significant other going, we don't do this ever, right? We don't do this ever. Like even when it was good, we don't do this. So they're forcing you into something. Tell you what, go for a walk. Go for a walk. Hold the person's hand and just start walking. Communicate. Love you more than anything in the world. 31 years, still in love. But we got an exciting new phase of life coming right now. And sure, there's a mourning period when the kids walk out. There's that period of time where you have to, it's really quiet. Right? And that's kind of painful, but it's also a golden opportunity, right? This is a chance to go back and date. This is a chance to go back and be what you were in the beginning. And if you treat her the way that you did when you first met her, she'll act the way that you did when you guys first met. Bank on that. I'm not kidding. It's almost that simple sometimes. Last child just left for college. Not sure if I'm crying they're gone or if I'm alone with them. Oh, Tampa. Oh, Tampa. That's tough. It really is. That's tough. Kathy, you text while running on a treadmill. I'll tell you what, you're coordinated more than me. You know what I am finding later in life? This is kind of a bummer. Diana, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'll take a good level out at this point in my life. I don't need incredible highs, and I sure as hell don't want any incredible lows. I am very, very comfortable being boring as sin, right? Being boring as hell. I'm telling you, if you guys saw my lifestyle, you would probably have a heart attack because I am I'm not the most exciting cat in the entire world. I probably was for at one time, but I'm not an exciting guy now. Although yesterday I did spend several hours working on my saltwater pool. I'll tell you something. The saltwater pool is absolutely genius. The way that entire process works blows me away. I had to learn about this stuff because if not, I'm going to pay a gazillion dollars to have somebody do it. And it's absolutely incredible. Wow. That's kind of cool, though. You met in World of Warcraft and you still hang out in vids. That's cool. That's cool. You know what? Love. It takes a lot of different forms, right? I mean, for real. You look at what some people do together, and you think to yourself, "Oh my God, I would rather die than have to do that," right? And then there are other people who are looking at the exact same thing, going, "Oh God, that would be awesome. That would be so fantastic." You know, Tampa B says, "I'm tired of trying. I give up." Um, boy, I'm sorry to hear that, uh, Tampa. I really am. And you know what? I'm not. This isn't going to come out good. This isn't going to come out good. I'm not going to make any friends. I'm not. I'll catch some emails about this that are just going to make people mad, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. It's hard to give advice without knowing someone's situation. You know what? I absolutely agree. Tommy, I text and walk fast. Well, I'm impressed as hell that you can do that. That's pretty good stuff, honestly. I've gotten to the age now where if I close my eyes for any period of time, I feel like I'm going to fall down. Like I just my and I used to be pretty damn balanced, with skiing and everything I did, but those days are over. Kathy can spot the wrong one easy. It's the good ones I can't spot. Yeah, well, I think a lot of people feel that way. But I'm going to say something now, and it is what it is. I'm going to say something now. I often say that 3 kids in college and a fairly new business can't afford it. I assume you're talking about the D word. Um, I assume you're talking about the D word. If the reason that one does not divorce is solely financial, then one should be tucking money aside so that at some point it is feasible. Because I'll tell you something: being trapped in a loveless relationship is awful. It's awful. And I say about recovery, right? People in recovery. Yes, see, there she goes. Yes, the D word. Um, I often say when people are in recovery, if you're just doing this one, right? If you're white knuckling it, then you'd be better off going out and drinking, right? Because that's no way to live. At least the person who's using is happy a couple of times, right? Once a day or twice a day, there's some happiness. The person who's white knuckling it, that's no way to live, right? I think living in a loveless relationship is no way to live. I'm not trying to cause divorces or anything like that, but the first goal of everybody should be to fix it, right? We shoved all in, especially if we get married and we have kids and all that. Like we've shoved all the chips in the middle of the table. I think you make every effort you possibly can to save it. If you cannot, right, there's no reason to be an idiot. If at first you don't succeed, try, and maybe try and maybe try. But at some point, you do realize that it's just not going to happen. JJ, good to see you. I am so sorry, hun. Oh, JJ. Oh, I am so sorry, JJ. I did tuck money, but kept giving it to my kids. Boy, that makes sense. Boy, that makes sense. You sound like a good mom. JJ, yeah, look at everybody. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. That is really tough, JJ. I'm sorry. You're right. It's a two-way street. Nobody controls anyone. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You have to. I think. I think you communicate, right, and you give it the college try. You know, connection. You can live in a house with somebody that you don't connect with at any level, and you don't even communicate enough to connect. That happens a lot. Sit down at a table and say to somebody, you know what? Got 30 years into this. I honestly don't want to chuck this along the wayside. But here's the reasons that I'm almost willing to at this moment, and see if you can sort of get it back. And so often, like I was saying earlier, go ahead and treat your wife the way you did in the first 2 weeks when you met her, right? And watch what happens. I say this all the time, right? Um, if you start loving your significant other the way you did in the very beginning, more often than not, they're going to start treating you the same way, right? Seems pretty simple, yes? Yeah. The trouble is, one person has to start that process. And if you've got to the level of bitter where nobody can do that, right? Where neither of you can make that, then it's probably over. Because somebody has to say, I'm really going to treat you the way that I did when I saw you the first time and I thought I needed you more than anything in life. You cannot talk to somebody if they don't listen. There is a hell of a lot of there's a hell of a lot of truth to that. That doesn't sound good either. Sleeping in a separate wing. You know what? I am so sorry, Tampa. You deserve better. It's the truth. Nobody should be living with that. Nobody should be living with that. That's not good. Mediators are kind of cool. Counselors that work with people that aren't what's the word I'm looking for? Douchey. I can't think of anything else. JJ, I'm so sorry, hon. I really am. So sorry. And they do leave a hole, but they're so fantastic. It's it's the good and the bad, right? The good's just so good. Oh, marriage counseling. Yeah, definitely can. You know what? It can help. It really can. However, the thing about marriage counseling is this. If you get someone that's bad at it, don't bother. Honestly, you have to get someone that's really good at it. And that means that they're not taking a side, right? They're not very often because of the fact that as guys, we look at things through a male lens, and women look at things through a female lens. Like I remember going to counseling and walking through the front door, and before having one word spoken, I knew this woman was not going to give me a fair shake. I promise you, she had the look, and I'm not being mean, but she just had the look. She was not fond of guys. It was so bad that when we got in the car, it was probably what kept our marriage going, because we got in the car and my wife looked at me and went, "Boy, that woman does not like men." And the two of us started to laugh, and that laughing was what brought us together in the beginning. And if you can get back to that. He said, I haven't even thought of that. Wow. Wow. And I hate to say this, I really do. But I do believe that, and again, people are going to yell at me about this. I'm going to get all kinds of crap from people. I really am. I am. But you know what, Tampa? You deserve to be respected. You deserve to be loved. And that's the truth. And attacked every once in a while in the best of ways, right? You know what I mean? Chased around the house. How's that? Chased around the house like the old sitcoms from the 50s, where the guy would just chase the person into the other room, and you knew what was about to happen. Right? You knew. Yeah, nobody should be in a relationship that makes you unhappy. Right? That's not cool. That is absolutely not cool. No one has any. There's no. You're not created for that. Right? The opposite of everything bad is connection. If there can't be a connection there, well, then you need to find a place that there can be. Sorry, it's the truth. And don't think because you're whatever, my kids respect me and give me enough love to be happy. Okay, well, then it's time to, if you've given it the college try, you've given it everything you can do, then get out of Dodge and find a guy that's going to worship you. That's what you need to do. And you know what? He's out there. I promise you. You know how many guys got really raked over the coals by the last woman that they were with, and they just want someone that's going to respect them? I promise you those guys are out there. My last girl worked me. I promise you. I've told the story on the boat too many times, but yeah, boy, did I get worked. I spent years living a separate relationship, 20 to be exact. Thank God he worked nights. It was hard. Annette. His limerence made her dance. See that? Already being worked into a sentence. Virginia says, I got stuck in my own prison. Oh, that's terrible. I got stuck in my own prison, truly. And it's hard to get out. Good for you, hon. I like to hear that. Good for you. I think honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. Unless, of course, I'm one of those 100. I'm just funning. Just funning. Give me justice or give me limerence. There's a freaking t-shirt. Huh? How about give me limerence or give me death? That's the t-shirt. Instead of give me liberty, that's it. Give me limerence or give me death. Where's a pen? I'm writing this down. I'm liable to forget that. That's really funny, man. That really is. That really is. I don't think anybody outside the lifeboat will get it, but that's all right. Sure, Tampa. Start backpedaling now. Sure. We're not mad at you. It's all good. I hope you're blushing, Tampa. Give me limerence or give me death. Boy, is that funny. Kathy, do you see what you've started? That's awesome. Let's see, put the lifeboat symbol on the front and put that on the back. That would be awesome. Tampa, knock that off. Holy mackerel. Knock that off. I don't want to know that. Virginia says, I want to be free. Everybody has the right to be free. Everybody. Did I miss a reference? Oh yeah, there we go. Monk. Monk. My knock is a rock singer. Once he asked me for some lyrics off the top of my head. I sang the blues and clapped my man's. That's funny. Na 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 na. Stockholm syndrome. Been a prisoner for almost 5 years. Tampa. That's awful. And you know what? That's no good. It's no good. That really is no good. And Tommy says, I love this boat. We're truly exploding with unique people and outlooks from all over the board. I come away more edified every day. I swear. What a cool thing to say. And you know what? It is the absolute truth. You know, the other thing is this, and this is awful. We're out of time. I feel like a bad counselor, right? So at that point, I said to my significant other, if you don't we're out of time. Let's finish this next week. It was 30 years ago, not this hubby. You've got stories. Giggity. 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 Love that. All right, people. We're going to be back tonight at 5:00. I will be here. Keep saying, sending happy thoughts and prayers to Heather Joy. She's still recovering. Same bat time, same bat channel, except we say squirrel. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. She's a bit of a diva. It's part of her contract. Yeah. Kind of sad. My cat's got an agent. Far more popular than I am. All right. Now, I would recommend that if we pulled a Band-Aid off, right? If any of this pulled a Band-Aid off and you start feeling like you're bleeding a little bit, then do me a favor and sit down and write, right? Do some journaling. Gamer, we're glad you're here. You're in the right place. No, you're in the right place, gamer. You're good. Glad you're here. Glad you are here. So Tampa, sit down and journal, or you could talk to Full of Hope. Full of Hope is a sharp cat, to be real. Very, very, very solid advice. Sharon, good to see you. Kathy says that's me exactly. Trombone, Stockholm syndrome. You know what? There's a lot of that going around. Don't journal bad experience. Go in there and get that crap out, right? Tell the rest of the story because you couldn't tell all of it here. Send me an email, complain about everything that you wanted to, but don't leave it inside you and walk around with it all day. Bad form. Get it out. I promise you, I'm right. Get it out. By the way, before any of you decide to hate me, I'm not guilty of any of the man stuff that guys are guilty of. That's why I do not. Right, the woman in my life is covered in fur. All right, people. I will see all of you on the next boat. Okay. I hope that's the truth, Tampa. I'm just looking out for you. Starting to like having you around, Tampa. Right? Just looking out. True story. All right, everybody, have a fantastic day. I'm Captain Tommy, and we'll see you later on the boat. By the way, I'm not saying anything, but there's a chance I may end up doing someone else's channel today as well. Could be.